And we're back. This is the Red Press. I'm Mark McGill, joined once again by Peter Martin. How's it going, Pete?
Yeah, it's going well, thanks.
Excellent. Well, it's been a busy week for the Reds. Fiercely drawn against Arsenal in the Premier League on Sunday and then managing to move past Brighton in the Carabao Cup on Wednesday night with a bit of a rejig side, bit of an experimental formation, but maybe we'll come onto that in a little bit. I mean, first and foremost, we'll dive straight into the Arsenal match. Now, you had it down as a 1-1 draw, I think it was last week. I think I had it down as a 2-1 win for Liverpool, or certainly a win for Liverpool. Obviously, it ended up 2-0. Now, what did you make of the game? What were your impressions of it now the dust has settled a little bit? And do you think that a draw was a good result from Liverpool?
I do, yeah. I just said, our recent history there hasn't been great, so I think we looked confident. You always want to judge a team by how it comes back to some sort of setback, and I thought we responded really well. And then all the chat we were having last week was about whether Nunes would take his big opportunity, and his opportunity came with composure on that sit.
Yeah, not something that an attribute that you really put on Nunes too much, really. But yeah, you're kind of referring to that assist for the Salah goal.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Just brilliant. Just I don't think it got talked about enough how calm he was in that moment, and he's not someone you kind of rate for the calmness and composure in those because he had time as well.
Yeah,
it's like
which is really the worst thing you can give Darwin Núñez really over the past couple of seasons is those that bit of time to think. And yeah, I agree. I thought he was fantastic. I was expecting him to shoot or to do something mad. And not only was it the right decision, but the execution was perfect for Salah as well. I think Salah really, his movement was so good. It was begging for a pass, really, the way he kind of cut inside. And also the way he left the ball, because I think he might have been in an offside position for receiving the pass, and he was intelligent enough to leave it, cut inside. And I agree. I thought Núñez's pass, and also how he played throughout the game was really good. So it was hopefully he can kind of build on that. Yeah, I agree. I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was tense.
Yeah, they tend to be. I don't really enjoy those Liverpool-Arsenal encounters. I think the way they kind of play out and the tension before them, I think it's how I used to feel with Liverpool and Man United fixtures, that kind of just, dread in the leading up to it, and they're never enjoyable games, whereas obviously over the past couple of years, barring a couple of exceptions, the United games have been very enjoyable from our side. But those Arsenal encounters just seem to just have, I don't know, there's a lot more weight obviously to them because of the position at Arsenal, Liverpool, and they're one of the teams to beat there. So yeah, it was I agree. It was a tense.
I think a lot of Reds as well maybe had a slight soft spot for Arsenal in the past, but they've just become really unlikable past few years.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they have certainly been one of those teams that a lot of neutral fans kind of, will look towards, maybe because they've had such really, really great players and really enjoyable players, which they have got now. But I think in Arteta, they've got a manager who is not quite on Mourinho levels of winding people up, but there's definitely an element of that to his management, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think if he's one of those characters, if he's on your side, you're really drawn to him and you really like him, and I think Arsenal fans really love him. Obviously, he's got history there as well, but he's certainly maybe trying to instill that kind of siege mentality thing with Arsenal. But I think he's going about it the wrong way. I think maybe he's encouraging a bit of a why us kind of thing. You know what I mean? He's there's a lot of moan and there's a lot of negativity, and I think maybe he's just going the wrong way with trying to as I say, instill that siege mentality. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know why they've been able to control the narrative behind the game before the game about this huge injury crisis that they had going into it, when they only started the game without two clear starters that they normally have.
Yeah,
it's not our fault. Saliba got sent off, and then similarly, I'd much rather have a centre back out than your first choice goalkeeper out.
Yeah, absolutely, the best goalkeeper in the world.
It just it seemed like everyone was talking about it before the game, and it was like massive not having your number one going to Arsenal. Like, I don't know, Kelleher did all right, but there's just that little bit of doubt. Like,
Yeah, he's not at the level.
yeah,
He's a really good goalkeeper, and to have him as number two is amazing. But obviously, Alisson's just the best, and especially in certain situations where I don't know, his concentration's unbelievable, and he's just so good. It's an absolute loss, a huge loss not to have him in the side. But Kelleher, it could be a lot worse. And also, without like wanting to move on to Brighton too quickly, Janos he's come from kind of nowhere for us to play a really good, play a couple of really good games for Liverpool. But yeah, stay on the Arsenal game. I mean, like also, it's encouraging, as you said before, it's encouraging to see Liverpool kind of find the way back in a game where maybe we didn't really have full control of, or we weren't really playing at our best individually and collectively, but we still found a way to score 2 goals and make it difficult for Arsenal. And I mean, kind of answering my own question there is if a draw is a good result. I think it's a really good result there. I think it's a worse result for Arsenal, who I think will be there, 5 years into their kind of Arteta project or whatever, and I think they'll be looking to make greater strides than what they currently are. Whereas Liverpool, whenever we get a result which isn't a win, you can always say, well, it's Slot trying to, impose a system on the players. It's not quite there. It's going to be a long-term thing. But to be in the position that we are and still have this new manager trying to put a stamp on the team, I think it's brilliant. He's had such a great start, and I think that was the biggest challenge of his short Liverpool career so far. But there's plenty more to come. Do you think he's going to get, apart from like obviously Manchester City, do you think there's going to be many more difficult places to go than the Emirates away?
I don't know. I don't think so. It's such a big game, that, isn't it? There's some big ones coming in the Champions League as well.
Yeah, some massive games coming up. Full stop. Really, another. I can't believe there's another international break like on the horizon. It's just unbelievable. It's just, but I think it comes at a really good time for Liverpool. I think just like moving ahead, there's we've got Bayer Leverkusen in midweek, massive game obviously there. Then we got Aston Villa next Saturday, massive game. These huge games just keep coming non-stop. Yeah. And then after that, there's the international break before we return. I think it's on November 23rd when we play Southampton. So I think that comes as a good time, really. I think, obviously most of our players are away there, but it just gives Arne Slot more time to work with the players that he does have and just to get more used to being at the club. And also, I think last time he went back to Holland for a few days, he decided to have a break himself, I think, which is also important. He kind of got out of the madness a little bit and kind of relaxed a little bit and, recentered himself and came back refreshed. So I think this international break does come at a good time. But I mean, sticking on the Arsenal game, I think also, we touched on before about Núñez obviously taking his moment there and having that composure, but another big game and another big massive game for Mo Salah. He's just like the man for these big occasions, isn't he? Does he ever surprise you when he pops up? He's seemingly like quiet in games and he'll just pop up with these big massive moments. Do you ever get surprised of it?
No. It's just a monster, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a numbers machine, isn't he?
You just don't doubt him. I was a bit worried, earlier in the season with the contract stuff, and it starts to feel like the Salah farewell tour, especially when he was talking after the Man United game. It doesn't really feel like that anymore. I don't know what's changed in the past few weeks. He just seems genuinely happy and comfortable, and yeah, I don't know. He's just playing like so corny to say playing with a smile on your face, but he just seems genuinely bedded in and happy at the moment.
Yeah, it does. I've got no idea what will happen next season with the 3 players who are kind of, coming to the end of the contracts. I have my feeling is that Trent will go and Virgil and Salah will stay. That's how I was feeling the other week. I don't think I've quite wavered from that yet, but I think anything can happen, really. I think Mo Salah wants to stay. I think whatever he can do, money-wise, contract-wise, or whatever is the debate there, I think it might be length of contract, possibly.
Yeah.
But I think Mo Salah wants to stay. He doesn't want to go and play in the Middle East, or he doesn't want to go and play in, like, a league or even a team which drops below the level he's at now. He's so competitive and he's so confident in his own abilities. He'll be thinking he can play at Liverpool for another couple of seasons, and he sees these records that he's getting, like every other week now he's getting another record, and I think he'll be wanting to move higher in the Premier League goal scoring table. I think he's 8th now, maybe he's level, or he's moved past Robbie Fowler, or he's around there. But there's a few players above him there he'll have in his sights. I think it's possible for him to move 3rd in Liverpool's all-time goal scoring chart. He's not catching Roger Hunt and Ian Rush, but he can certainly move up there. And I think he's so fixated on not himself. It may be himself, but in a good way. He's so secure in his own abilities. He's so confident. I hope he can work it out. I think he wants to stay anyway. But because when he's out, there's no one really. Currently, there's no one that can do a job on. Like, moving on to Brighton, kind of connected with that. Luis Diaz was playing on the right there. I don't think we really see the best out of Diaz on the right, but it was an unusual lineup. I think a little bit of a rejig lineup from slot against Brighton, and one that saw no number 9 play, no central striker. I mean, what did you make of it? It was kind of a bit of a box midfield with Slobozai kind of as an auxiliary number 9. Sometimes Curtis Jones would go up there. It didn't really seem to work for me, but Liverpool win and get through to the quarterfinals, so obviously it did a job. What did you make of it?
Yeah, it was a bit chaotic, wasn't it? I don't know. I guess it's just one of those cup games, isn't it? When you're just trying to figure stuff out. I guess it feels a bit like a free hit, doesn't it? So it's
Do you think he was like experimenting a little bit with it being like he probably wouldn't have done anything like that in a Premier League game unless he really, really had to, and maybe this is like a bit of a experiment, looking further down the line. If there's a couple more injuries in the team, he's going to have to figure something out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, maybe he was using it as a Carabao Cup experiment, really.
I think no one would have begrudged the idea that, if we went out, we haven't got a big enough squad to compete for everything. No. I don't think there would have been too many. Well, I don't know. There's always angry Reds, but I think there's a good scope for a bit of experimentation there, and I think as soon as the game started and like within 10 minutes it was like Gakpo's going to score tonight. He was just fully on one.
He was excellent with those goals, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, that first one was like, it virtually no bend on it. It bends right at the end, but he kind of puts his toe straight through it. Such power. He's so deadly in those areas, isn't he? Coming in like off the left. I mean, also obviously he got 2 goals there. Luis Diaz scored there. They've got a little bit of a battle, obviously, because for the most part they're going to be battling for the same position. I mean, who'd you pick? Are you the same as Slot? Would you have one week, the other the next week? Can you see a big difference between the two? I mean, first off, who would you play against Brighton this weekend?
I still think Diaz is your man. I think Diaz can offer a bit more defensively. There's a bit with who was it? Someone skipped past Robertson and Gakpo at the same time, and it was when Garros did that amazing Yaros,
yeah, I think I'm giving it Yaros.
Yeah.
But yeah, that save, incredible.
It was Lamptey. He skipped past Robertson and he skipped past Gakpo, and that was their biggest chance of the game. And I just think it makes us a little bit tighter on the double up defensively when Diaz is tracking back as well. But I mean, it's splitting hairs. I also think Diaz is more consistent. But then, I don't know, Gakpo always does really well in the cups as well, doesn't he? So it's
yeah, I mean, I don't think there's having that little battle out on the left. And I don't think we've seen one of them have like maybe 3 games where they're 8, 9 out of 10, where they're doing the business for 3 games on the trot. I think we're seeing it. We'll have a good game and then maybe drop down a touch the next game. But also they're not getting that rhythm because Slot seems to be fairly comfortable with rotating them pretty consistently down there. And I mean, which normally you like to see your front players get a bit of a run of game and get that rhythm and whatever. But it seems to be working. Whatever he's doing seems to be working because invariably we're getting goals from the left and we're getting either Diaz or either Gakpo putting in a really good performance and being, the cutting edge. And so I say whatever Slot's doing there is working. So whereas whoever he chooses on the left there, I think you've got to go with because it is working. It was kind of intriguing to see that front 3. Obviously, if we're saying Szoboszlai was the furthest forward of the midfielders, like kind of a bit of an auxiliary number 9. It was, I don't know, it was kind of strange that Gakpo didn't play in the middle of thoughts. I thought the players that he had, the natural fit would be Diaz on the left, Gakpo in the middle, and even Szoboszlai on the right, where he's played for Hungary quite a few times and does quite well there. So yeah, I think it was a strange lineup, but that's the Carabao Cup for you, isn't it? And it's like one of those things when if you get knocked out, it's like it's only the Carabao Cup, and then as you were saying before, it's like well, you don't want to go too far because it's too many fixtures and that. But when you were there last year, when you're when we won it,
that was my favorite game I've ever been to. It was just because it's just so unlikely, being in Wembley. That team came out in the fan zones, and then just the collective groan when everyone saw the Liverpool team, and then just to come through it. And I guess it was one of those games where it really felt like the fans made the difference as well.
Yeah,
and it's just a special one. So yeah, and it's a great opportunity for fans who don't get to go to as many games to go on more of a cup run the Carabao. So yeah, I don't mean to disregard it. It's just squad size, isn't it?
Yeah, it is tricky because I think we've seen it. Like there's been a couple of occasions, obviously, over the past few years when we've gone really far in all of the competitions, and people start talking about the quadruple and stuff like that. And we've come really close twice, and it's not without an effect. You know what I mean? That usually has an effect, even if it's the next season. I don't think you can. It'd be like a once in a lifetime thing if a team ever wins all 4 trophies, and it just brings its own difficulties. But at the same time, you want to win every football match, and I think he's got a really good opportunity to go far in this competition, and I'm sure Arne Slot would love to win a trophy in his first season, no matter what happens with it or any of the other competitions. I think if he can get a trip to Wembley and get his first trophy under the belt, that would be huge for him, I think, and it'd be massive in terms of confidence moving forward and take a little bit of pressure off him and all that kind of stuff. So
it's only 3 games away, and the next game's Southampton.
Yeah, so it's certainly possible. I mean, a little side note of the Carabao Cup, I was thinking, I think if you're a team that's playing in European competition, you shouldn't be entered in the Carabao Cup. One, obviously, because everyone moans about fixtures, but also just looking at the teams that are left in the Carabao Cup, it's all Premier League teams, and and it's the same teams all the time. I think it would be a much more fun competition. I think people would enjoy it a bit more if those teams that are in Europe are out of the equation, and you're getting either maybe top championship clubs or mid-table Premier League clubs competing for the EFL Cup. I think it'd be much more enjoyable, but that obviously would discount Liverpool from winning a trophy. So
no, I agree. Yeah, definitely.
So obviously you spoke there before when we were talking about Luis Diaz helping out Andy Robertson as well, doubling up on Robertson. Robertson's a player that has come under a little bit criticism. I mean, for a whole season really, but maybe over the past 2 games, obviously he struggled a little bit with the Saka goal against Arsenal, which I wouldn't really criticise him too much for anyway, because I think Saka's so good, and I think anyone would struggle in that position. But also maybe he wasn't at his best against Brighton as well. I mean, how do you think Andy Robbo is doing at the moment? Do you think it's a a blip?
Yeah,
Do you think it's a permanent decline? What are your feelings on him?
and he's only 30, isn't he?
He's only, people think he's a lot older than what he is because he came through that side, and a lot of his peers that have got a couple of years on him. But yeah, he's only 30. He's not like he's over the hill.
Just that Scottish face. Years on. Brighton's biggest chance at that fell to Lamptey at the start of the Brighton game was because Robertson had lost his line. And you were just thinking, oh God, after the Arsenal game, here we go again. And then he got skinned as well, I think by Adingra or Lamptey towards the end as well for that Jarrah save. So there was a little couple of warning signs, but then I think that can happen in any game. I think Bradley had one where he got put on the floor as well.
Yeah, I think we were susceptible down both flanks there, but the fullbacks against Brighton, it was a bit of a problem here down both sides.
And his forwards play, I thought, against Brighton was really good. The one I really liked was is like interplay of Szoboszlai, and then like he pulled it back, and Szoboszlai should have scored. Really, just kind of side-footed it quite soft at the keeper, but like his pass in that tight area and his movement was great. And I think he got a lot of confidence from that because it was about 10 minutes later that he had that shot on the near post, which was pretty unlucky as well.
Yeah.
And when you just see him flying forward, when you look back at those moments, like I don't know, he still looks quick to me. I think it's just growing into the season. I think people are making too much of it.
I think you could be right there. I mean, I think Arne Slot kind of touched upon it today in his press conference. He was saying that he's maybe not fully up to speed physically because he didn't really have much of a pre-season. Obviously, he had injury problems when he went to the Euros with Scotland, and he didn't quite have the pre-season that Slot was hoping he was going to have, and because of that, that's mainly why Tsimikas has come back and been more of a rotation option, because he doesn't feel that like Robbo can really play 390 minutes on the trot because of the consequence of not really being involved in pre-season. So there is that, like, because I mean we look at it from such a layperson's view of like what footballers can do and stuff, but there's so much more going on in the background, and so much more. Like, these are human beings, aren't they? Like, they're not robots or characters in a computer game, which I think most football fans treat them like. And so we never quite know, what's going on physically there. But I think he's such an important player at the minute. Even if maybe I'd accept that maybe he's obviously not quite at the level as what we've seen at the past. I think he's Premier League quality still, and I think he's vital for this period of Arne Slot coming in, where he's going to need these strong characters on his side and buying into the project and all that kind of stuff. And I think he's huge. So a lot of fans are kind of calling for him to be replaced, for us to move in the transfer market in January and stuff like that. And I think it's all a bit ridiculous, really. I think he can certainly improve, and I think he needs to improve, but I think he's massively important, what he's doing on the pitch, but also off the pitch. You know what I mean? He's like one of the members of this, Jurgen Klopp's leadership group, I think they used to call it. And then he's involved in important decisions and discussions in the squad. And as I say, with Slot coming in and trying to win players over almost and changing how we're playing, I think having these big characters to take care of that transition is a massive thing. So for me, I'm definitely on Team Robbo. It sounds like you are as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Tsimikas is fun. You can't deny the kind of fun element when Tsimikas comes off, because you never know what's going to happen.
I do love a Tsimikas corner.
He's got good delivery. He's just a bit mad, isn't he? I think he's got like loads of the attributes that you want in a player playing at that level. He's an international fullback and all this kind of stuff, and I think he's got plenty of good moments, but he's just a bit mad, isn't he? It's like his decision making sometimes, or he can switch off. He shares that haircut with Nunes, but he shares some of those moments of madness with him as well. But he is fun.
Sometimes, like, you can tell, like, he just sees like the headlines and he just has like a shot from outside the box, and it's just one of the worst.
Yeah, he's not. I know he's not scored a Premier League goal, but has he scored a goal from open play for Liverpool? Obviously, he got that penalty in the shootout. But yeah, I mean, he's not known for his goal scoring attributes, but
No.
one of them is going to fly in at some point. But again, I guess we've been saying that about Joe Gomez for a couple of years, and it hasn't quite happened for him. But okay, so moving on to Brighton in the Premier League, do you think we're going to see a similar kind of pattern of play, or do you expect a little bit more from Liverpool at Anfield with a more of a stable lineup? I think we probably know the lineup, apart from maybe I'd say that Gakpo Diaz situation, possibly Szoboszlai Jones, maybe, but apart from that, it pretty much picks itself, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I think when they made their substitutions, they were having a lot more joy, and I think they'll revert to that at the weekend. I don't know what team they're going to go with, but I thought Adingra and Lamptey did really well.
They're good. I like Brian. They're enjoyable to watch. I mean, they're a little bit up and down, unless you're at the right top end of the Premier League where you can afford to have that massive squad. It's a little bit up and down in terms of consistency, but when they're on it, I think they're really enjoyable to watch.
Their record at Anfield, the last 7 is 4. We've won 4, drawn 2, and lost 1. So there's
really?
teams best records at Anfield.
There used to be a bit of a bogey side as well. Brighton, I think, like kind of in the early 80s there. So never traditionally an enjoyable team to play against for one reason or another. Yeah, but I've got to say also in terms of what happened on Wednesday, I don't think there was any, tragedy chanting or poverty chanting or anything like that from the Brighton fans. They seem to be, along with maybe Crystal Palace, they seem to be one of the few sets of supporters who concentrate on their own team rather than trying to resort to tired cliches about Liverpool and Liverpool supporters. So we've got to give them credit for that as well. Hopefully they'll do that again on Saturday.
I know I don't know about you, but it's the Leverkusen return of Alonso that's just like playing around in my mind. Like,
yeah, I mean
that one, like,
they're
you
obviously
be on your next game, but like that's the one that's just like got me the most excited.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see him on the sidelines, isn't it? And like, obviously they've had a pretty good start to the Bundesliga season, but I think they've lost a game already. Yeah. I think they're third in the table, but obviously it's early days, but they're up there in the mix. It's not quite as kind of destructive and awe-inspiring as what they were doing last season because they've lost already. But I think that kind of takes a little bit of pressure off them as well. When you have an unbeaten run, sometimes a team can play a little with a bit of restriction because it becomes a bit more of a burden as they start breaking more and more records. So they've got that off the back already there. I haven't seen them play this season there, but I think they play tonight. Yeah, it's kind of exciting to see him return. In another kind of timeline, Alonso could have been in the Liverpool dugout.
Yeah, I know. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because like, this could have been the moment where we're all looking at Alonso as what we wish we could have had. Like if it hadn't started so well for Slot.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, But I don't think anyone's going to feel like that, which is strange. It just shows you how well Slot's done.
Yeah, it's incredible, really. I think there's when kind of Alonso decided to stay at Leverkusen, which I think is the right decision for him as well. But when that happened, and then we were getting linked with a few different players, and then heavily linked with Slot, there's obviously a lot of negativity because unless you're kind of a bit more clued up on European football scene or whatever, which I'm not. Not many people I knew much about Arne Slot, and there's a lot of people who'd never even heard of him. So kind of there's a lot of negativity around it and stuff like that. And as you say, he's done incredible to lift that and give himself a little bit of a platform in this kind of next stage of the season to start bringing more and more of his ideas in. Because I think it must be so difficult to be a new manager. I think there was a quote that Brendan Rodgers used, which I think he lifted from someone else, but he likened it to kind of building an aeroplane as you're flying it at the same time. Like, so it's like it can't be easy for Slot, but he's done so well, and I think maybe it's inevitable. We hope that Alonso would maybe appear in Liverpool dugouts at one point, but we were also thinking about Steven Gerrard a couple of years ago, and those calls have kind of disappeared, I think.
Yeah,
You know. So yeah, moving on to score predictions then for Liverpool versus Brighton, and then a quick one on Leverkusen. What are you giving in for Liverpool Brighton?
I think we'll win 3-1.
3-1.
I think Welbeck might get one for them. It's just in the
He's
fact
still
that
going, isn't he, Danny Welbeck?
mad. The fact that informed strikers in the league, Chris Wood and Danny Welbeck, it's like feels like some sort of fever dream.
Yeah, it's mad, absolute madness. But I was going for a clean sheet. If you're going 3-1, I'll go 3-0. I think Canate and Van Dijk ruling the roost there. I'll go for that one there. And then I think for the Leverkusen game, I think it's obviously going to be a very similar lineup as well. I don't think there's going to be much rotation. I've got no idea what to expect for that, really. I mean, I was thinking a draw against Leipzig would have been a good result. I thought that would be a lot more tighter than it actually was. Against Leverkusen, I don't know. What are you giving
it? I think it'll be tight. I'll go 2-1.
2-1. Yeah, well, I'm going to join you on a 2-1 there. I think Liverpool should be strong enough at home. I think they've got enough momentum to get through these games, even at times when they're not playing well. But I think at Anfield, that should be, they should. I wouldn't say it's going to be comfortable for them, but the team that they've got and the experience they've got, I think they should get through that. Yeah, 2-1, I'll give that.
I got a ticket, so.
What was that?
Got a ticket, so.
Lucky you. Get to see Alonso in action.
Man.
Yeah, he's one of those players. I think we've seen footage of him do it, but he's one of those players. If like a ball like bounces down from nowhere, he could, even if he's, wearing the Skechers or whatever, or his brogues or whatever he wears on the side, he can just take it out the air and control it, no problem.
Yeah. That Cole Palmer through ball last weekend, that felt very Alonso. Just kind of got it, spam with it, and then like cut it through. Like it reminded me of him.
Yeah, it'd be good to see him again. Well, if you're going to that one, enjoy it. I'm sure I'll speak to you at some point around then, and hopefully it'll be 3 points against Brighton tomorrow, and we've got Villa next week. I think very, very quickly, I think looking at what Arsenal and City have got, I think there's potential for them to drop points there. I think Arsenal got Newcastle this weekend. City have got Bournemouth. Then the weekend after that, when we've got Villa, Brighton, we've got City, and Chelsea have got Arsenal. So I think every team's got tough games there, but I think there's potential for the other two teams in this very, very, very early title race to lose points, and maybe Liverpool to get back top of the league before the international break.
I think if Villa lose against Spurs on Sunday, they could have a little dip in form. They drew against Bournemouth at the weekend. It would be a good moment to play them as well. I
think so. I think that maybe they might get a little bit distracted by what's going on in their European adventures, where they're doing really well. But hopefully that'll be a distraction. They can have a dip in form, as you say, before we play them next week. Okay, well, we'll wrap up there. So have a good week, Peter, and up the Reds.
The Reds, yeah.
Nice one, mate.